The drama continues. Welcome to Playing the Field, the Bachelor podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Field, longtime sports anchor, longtime fan of The Bachelor here at WABC in New York City. Thanks so much for being here, as always. We are joined now by your two favorites, Jen Matarese, our Bachelor insider from here at WABC in New York, and our Bachelor expert from our sister station, KABC in Los Angeles. She is Gina Sirico. Ladies, welcome. My goodness, what an episode. Once again, they crammed in a lot in an hour's time. They're in lovely Antigua. Beautiful place, by the way, if you've never been.
Never been.
A beautiful place to fall in love. But I think what we're finding is Mel is having a hard time falling in love. And he's been very calculated again about what he says to these women in terms of how he's feeling. I mean, he says he likes them, he misses them, all the things. Mm-hmm. But I think both Peg and Cindy are not satisfied with how forthcoming he's been about their feelings towards them and the situation in general.
Cindy especially.
I
think they're at the point, they're down to the wire here. They want answers because they may have an important decision to make. Do they want to accept a proposal? It's not a given that they'll say yes, you know? They could say no if they're not ready.
And Gina, again, there doesn't have to be a proposal. I think people kind of forget that part. It's not written in the bylaws that Mel has to propose to one of these women when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I mean, we've had bachelors in the past who have just said, like, there won't be a proposal at the end. And so I think it was it Charlie O'Connell? Jen, can you check me on that?
Forever.
I feel like it might have been him where he said no. Yeah.
Jen's still salty about it.
I went way back.
He dated two of them for
the
3 extra months. Do you remember
there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I mean, there is something wrong with that. But listen, when you're trying to make a decision, you want to make sure you're taking as much time as you can to make the proper decision, I think.
Sure. Sure.
But anyway, hold on, Gina, finish your point about Charlie. You were talking about how, you don't have to have a proposal at the end of this.
Right. You don't necessarily have to. But here's the thing. I think it's something that we've all had like a little bit of an issue with is none of us know how he feels about anything. Like, I think even Jesse was trying to get him to say something, to give some sort of like, yeah, I like these women. And he couldn't even do that with Jesse. So to me, it's just, I think it's been very difficult. And I wonder if it's like, to your point, is it that he's thinking so much about the proposal aspect of it that he just doesn't want to make the wrong decision? I don't know, but I do feel like it's been frustrating as a viewer. I think we can all agree on this, that nobody knows how he feels or where he stands.
Yeah, he's definitely been playing it close to the vest, and one of the things he pointed out in a recent episode was, saying I love you is a big deal for him. He just doesn't say that to people. So I think, whether he's been divorced now for 5 years, whatever it is, whether he's still kind of processing a lot of that and is very careful about his feelings and opening up fully to the next woman, maybe that's all playing a part in it. But it's certainly been, of all bachelors in recent seasons, he's definitely been one of the more reluctant ones in terms of putting it out there, which, I guess in a lot of ways I respect it because you don't want to mislead these women either. You don't, who was it? Was it Grant who said I love you to like all 3 women of the final 3? And it's like, you don't want to be love bombed.
There have been a few bachelors who
Ben Higgins,
like that. Where it's like,
Ben Higgins.
Yeah,
so you don't want to love bomb, right? No. So you don't want to tell all these women things that just to make them hear what they want to hear if you're not fully sure. So in some respects, I do respect how he has handled this situation. But I did think it was telling, and if we look back at this episode, they're in Antigua. He meets Peggy for a dune buggy date, which is such a perfect date for them, knowing how she is and how he is. And he tells Peg, he's like, right off the bat, he's like, I really missed you. And I thought that was interesting that he said that right off the bat, right from the jump, and especially when he doesn't give you a lot. When he gives you a little, I feel like you have to take notice
meaningful.
of it. Yes, absolutely.
I can't tell if he just likes them, if he's in like, or if he's saying that because he's holding back. He doesn't want to hurt their feelings. Do you think that's...
I think it could be a combination of the two, don't you, Gina? I think part of him is still figuring it out, and he also doesn't want to lead them on.
Yeah, that's true. But we also just have to know, like, does he like either of them? I feel like we've talked about this before. Can you just like bomb them a little bit and be like, yes? And I think he did that a little bit this week when he told Peg that he missed her. One thing I noticed, Mel was very slow in how he drove the car, drove the ATV. And then Peg was like going all over the place. Yeah. And if that juxtaposition does not tell you everything you need to know about this season, it just felt like a perfect way to kind of like sum up a perfect metaphor for the season.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great point.
It's funny because he's a former NFL player, so he was in a dangerous game for a very long time. You have to have some kind of fearlessness about you to be able to do that. And yet he drives so slowly, and we'll get to the Cindy date where he won't touch the stingrays.
Yeah, right? I mean, it was Cindy who brought up the thing about the horse, and she was exactly right. And you could see him kind of getting nervous when Peg was driving.
Oh,
and
it
reminded me when he was on the horse, through Griffith Park, where he was like holding on for dear life and very nervous. So yeah, he comes off as this big tough guy with that exterior, but he's kind of a softy at heart, and
cautious.
Maybe a little cautious, a little nervous. More than we thought he would be. They go to the fantasy suites. I love the shot, side note, of the turtles mating in the morning that they showed right before they cut back to them in bed. Yeah, right. That was
very paradise.
That was very paradise, but very
yes, very paradise.
Very apropos considering what had just transpired. What we think the night before. Yeah. But yeah, they showed them in bed the next morning, and it felt to me. Maybe not quite to the Joey Kelsey level where they're like tickling each other while they're making breakfast. It definitely felt very comfortable, very natural. I felt like I was looking at a married couple in their mid-60s who just had a great night together and were so happy to wake up next to one another.
They did seem so natural. They seemed like Peg puts him at ease. Don't you think? She has just this fun
and there's something to be said about that.
And I loved what she said about the prenup, too. She's like, you're not getting all my stuff.
Yeah, right. And Mel was probably like, thank God, because I wanted you to sign one as well.
Yeah, I think she just puts it all out there. She's pretty evident about how she feels. She didn't say I love you, but Mel said that he felt love from her. So I think, I don't know.
The way that they look at each other, Gina, I mean, you can definitely tell that there is, if we want to say love, but there's certainly more than just a like bond between these two, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. They do care about each other. It's why they are, she's one of the final two. And the same goes for Cindy. Like, he does have feelings for her. Like, you can see it, but he just won't say it. That's the thing. The one thing I noticed that, by the way, and I think it was during the dinner where it was before the date started, where he said, Peg can be a little bit guarded about her feelings, and I hope she opens up. And I was like, sir,
that's ironic.
You're so guarded.
Right, exactly.
Right, exactly.
How
You're
do you
so
feel?
Guarded. Like, what is this? Exactly. Tell me something.
One-word answers.
Okay, let me pose this question to you, and we've definitely talked about the fact that you two are well more versed in the history of the show than I am. I can't remember what happened in the episode before this one, but you guys can remember a lot more things. Would you rather have him say, I love you to both of them, even if even if that's how he's feeling at the risk of leading them both on? Or would you rather have him play it close to the vest and not say those things if he is unsure? Jen, we will start with you.
Oh, for the sake of the show.
For the sake of the show,
I would really want to hear that he's feeling feelings of love.
For both people?
Yes.
So you'd rather have him say, I love you to both people?
Cruelly, yes, because I think they're going through the same amount of torment, wondering if he likes them at all.
Fair point. So. Gina?
Well, that's the thing. I think there is a happy medium here. You don't have to say, I love you to both, and I'm so happy, but like, let them know that you care. It feels like they were, throughout this whole thing, they have been pouring out the fact that they, enjoy him, they like him, they see him, they see a future, and he doesn't give any of that back. And I understand the playing a little bit close to the vest, but like, give them something. It's been my complaint the whole season, just something.
Do you think he's even that affectionate?
That could be too.
Like, he doesn't come across
he is like a gruff football player, and maybe his love language is not touch or whatever those things are. Whatever the things are, all the different love languages. touch, affection. What are
Yes.
the love languages? We need to have a
acts of
love expert.
service.
Acts of service. Maybe he's more of an
gifts.
acts of service guy.
Gifting.
Gifting is his love language, and
feel
it's
like-
not so much like physical touch and affection.
It's so funny because I always joke about this. I think every man's love language is physical touch.
Well, I mean,
Right?
it definitely doesn't hurt
Yeah,
if we're being
exactly.
honest.
And then I think women are more varying in the other 6 areas.
The women are like, "Don't touch me." That's exactly what it is. I'm mad at you. Don't touch me. But yeah, I mean, listen. I think he's in the process of figuring these things out. And again, he was married, as he brought up to Cindy, for 25 years. So, or was it Cindy? I think it was Cindy, where he was saying they were having that conversation that
Yes.
you don't. It's not like you got engaged and then all of a sudden you were like fighting the battle for 25 years. Like for 25 years, it was great.
Yeah.
And he was really in love with his wife, and then things went south during COVID, and we still don't have a full reasoning for that. But I'll also say this in terms of Gina's point and what you were saying too, Jen, about him not saying enough about how he feels about them. We did interview Debbie, which will be a guest later this week. She'll be a guest later this week on Playing the Field. We have that coming up for you. She brought up to us how a lot of what was said between the two never made it to air. And she said that she wished that they had showed more of their in-depth conversations. So what we're actually getting as an audience and as viewers is maybe only a snippet of what's really being said. So maybe he is saying more of these things, and the way that the producers are wanting to portray this season and the way they're editing it is by design. And you're giggling, Jen. Why is that?
because we need more than one-word answers.
But maybe,
I don't know.
or maybe he was too forthcoming and they didn't want to maybe they didn't want to, lead the viewers on and kind of give away who he's going to pick. So maybe they were editing it that way to make sure that we're kind of in the dark here as he gets down to the final two. That's just me, Gina, spitballing. What do you think?
We don't even know if he likes anybody at this point. You know what I mean?
Fair.
Like, it's fine. Don't give it away. And that's all well and good. And you know what? And her point, I definitely kind of clocked that. And just remember the fact that she said, we're not seeing everything. So maybe there are more moments with Mel. And I'm hoping that we do see some of that in this finale coming up, that he does care, that he does have feelings. Just emote them. Just let us know a little bit. And that's just what we can, as viewers, can hope for.
That's exactly it. Go ahead, Jen.
Oh, it's a callback to a episode or a season of a long time ago. Sean Lowe and Catherine, who he picked. I felt like you didn't even know he liked that girl that he ended up choosing and being happily married to for a long time
They've been
now.
married,
Absolutely.
Until the last 2 episodes. It was really under the vest
Listen,
for a
it's
while.
a slow burn for people, and everybody operates at a different pace. And Sean and Catherine are one of the success stories from Bachelor Nation, and they're happily married and have a great family and doing well. But as far as Mel goes, I noticed it too when he got to, as we transition here to Cindy's date. Cindy is so excited to see him, and we've talked before about her kind of self-sabotaging, and I think she kind of gets in her head a little bit. She gets there. He pulls up in the Jeep at the hotel, and she goes, "I really missed you." And Mel just looked at her. He didn't say anything. And to me, it was such a contrast when he pulled up to see Peg, and he said to Peg, "I missed you." He initiated it. And this time Cindy said it, and he didn't say anything back to her. So I think it might have been a combination of him still having Peg in his mind from the night before. He's or however long it was in between the dates. Maybe it's not the next day, but he just had this great time with Peg, and now he's got to go, oh man, now I have to all of a sudden pivot and go to this next date and kind of now get ready for another overnight with another woman who, I definitely like, but maybe I'm not sure about my feelings for her as now that I've spent this great night with Peg and I know exactly how I feel about her. So, I don't know. I thought that whole dynamic was very interesting, and I thought their whole date, Cindy was very touchy, very I really like you, Mel, and Mel was kind of hesitant the whole time.
Yeah, I got that vibe from him too. And I wondered if the feeling might have been different had the order been switched.
Maybe.
If Cindy went first and then Peg. You're going from Peg, who's very high energy, fun times, and then you're going to Cindy, who is a little bit more reserved and serious, but she's very romantic. She's more touchy touchy-feely than Mel is, but she's putting herself out there. She's trying to have a good time. She's having a good time by herself, even in with the stingrays, because he was afraid, and she's trying to encourage him. And I thought she did a really good job at that, because I don't know, he could have gotten a little annoyed if she pushed him too hard on that. Like, I said, no, I'm not touching the stingrays. But, to his credit, he was patient. He decided to try it. I'm glad he did, because I think they bonded over that. And I think that's what the whole point of these dates are, to have these bonding experiences, to grow closer together.
And Gina, if we look at these two relationships that he has, they're two very different relationships in terms of his energy with Peg and then his energy with Cindy. And I guess if you're looking at this from afar, how do you kind of handicap where it's at right now with these two women?
Well, like you said, it does seem like he was a little bit more hesitant on this date with Cindy, and the whole day just made me really feel for her. Mm-hmm. But I think that here we go again with the kind of the metaphors of the date. He wasn't willing to he didn't want to participate. Like, he didn't want to take part in it. And that, to me, like, it felt like a whole thing. Like, he's just kind of, like, things are happening around him, and he's just kind of there. It felt like that was a lot of this season, how it was. That he was, people were talking about how they liked him and cared for him, and he was just kind of, like, there, being like, yeah, okay, sure. It felt a lot of that. For me, I felt for Cindy, because I think that she really wants answers. I think both of them do. She really wants answers, and he's just not willing to give an inch about how he feels, about whether he cares about her or not. And I don't know. I mean, maybe this is his way of saying, you're not the one. And if that's the case, then girl, get up and walk out, and go walk out with your head held high. Because, if he doesn't want, do not stay. You deserve more. You deserve everything that you want.
Do you think that's what's going to happen?
I know. We saw that in the opening trailer to start the season, that somebody left, and we have not seen another inkling of that in any other trailers for the rest of the season, including the one for what looks to be a very dramatic, to steal a Bachelor word, dramatic conclusion to this season. But I also thought their conversation at the end of their date was probably the most intimate and very revealing conversation, and most, I guess, real conversation of this whole season. And I think that's kind of why they let that one play out. Him and Cindy sitting there on the water, and
so uncomfortable.
Yeah,
right?
it was uncomfortable, where she was trying to get stuff out of him and he wasn't budging. But
he has to budge, or
he
it's
has
done.
to budge. He has to budge, or it's done.
Yeah.
For me, I
love and relationships are compromise.
If you can't
It's all
say
about
that
that.
you want to move forward at that point, even if you're still undecided, if you can't see a future, you got to walk away.
And they left it on the cliffhanger of her asking the question, is there a will?
Yes.
And now you have me
Great
wondering,
question.
are they even going to have an overnight date?
I know.
You know what I mean? Like, depending on how he answers that question, there may not be an overnight date. And that is going to be very interesting to watch how this all unfolds. Yeah, I mean, listen, but I take that back, because in the following, the trailer for next week, he does go to Peg and said, look, I spent the night with Cindy.
Oh, that's right.
He does go to her and say that. And, which is also kind of interesting, because I feel like previous Bachelor contestants don't really go to the other women and say, yeah, I just spent the night with the other, because they feel like they don't want to know that part of the story.
Unless he says, and I sent her home.
Yes, unless he says, I sent her home, or she left. So we've kind of got an exciting conclusion on our hands here, ladies. A 2-hour finale comes our way next week, and I think it's fair to say that none of us know what is going to happen. No. I thought from the beginning that he was going to pick Cindy, but now I think he's going to pick Peg. I really do. Gina?
Same. Yep.
Yeah, it looks that way. All signs are pointing to Peg.
All signs are pointing to Peg. Who would have thought, when she came out in her Bomb Squad costume on night one, that she was going to be the one here that maybe has won Mel's heart when this is all said and done. We do have to get to one other order of business. We had Gary Turner on last week to discuss his book. We were hoping to have Theresa Nist on this week to kind of give her rebuttal to said book. She went on another podcast, reached out to me, said, thank you for the offer, very much thank you for the offer, but I've said all I need to say, and I kind of want to leave this with my head held held high. Don't blame her for that in the least bit. I think any of us who are in her shoes might feel that we need to do the same. Your take on what she said on this podcast in terms of her response to Gary?
I think that she had all the right things to say. I think she said exactly what I thought happened. It pretty much happened. I was a little surprised to hear her talk about Gary's temper, which that's a little sad to hear that, when someone's a little different than you expect. But everyone's got a lot of different parts of their personalities. I don't want to be too hard on him because it's a he said she said situation in some ways, but I do think that this book, I stand by the fact that I still think it was mean spirited. I think it was a lot about her and he's dwelling on it a bit, and I don't think he's coming off in the way he wanted to.
And Gina, he even got defensive with us a couple moments last week when we had him on the show. And listen, Gary's a great guy. We love having him on the podcast. But he even got a little defensive when we kind of questioned, whether he had any regrets or why he went through with the proposal when, he kind of was having these doubts before.
Sure.
Not the proposal, I'm sorry, why he went through with the wedding when he was already having doubts after they were engaged. But I think Jen said it best. This whole thing is a little bit of a he said, she said at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. And, and Theresa even said it in that podcast, basically, like, you didn't do me any favors by marrying somebody you didn't want to marry.
Right.
So, like, what was the point? Like, if it didn't matter, like, this is, there's TV and then there's, like, their lives. And ultimately, I think maybe he thought too much about it as the TV aspect and not their actual lives. And she did. I remember when she was on our podcast a few months ago, and we were asking her about him, and she didn't want to say anything. And she wanted to just kind of, like, close that chapter. Yeah. And for her, like, I think that let this be the final point. Let this be the final time she has to, talk about him and be done. I don't blame her one bit for that.
I do hope we can have her back for something else, maybe. She's great. So.
Yeah, and listen,
absolutely.
Maybe she'll be the Golden Bachelorette one day. Who knows?
Never know.
Wouldn't that be the ultimate full circle
Debbie's
moment?
up first.
Debbie's up first.
She would do it.
I don't know that she would. I don't know. I don't know. Paradise, maybe. I mean, listen, now that Gary has kind of put this book out there, I think all bets are off. I mean, she might be a little more inclined to, have her final say when this is all said and done. Hard to say. Speaking of Debbie, we have her coming up later this week?
Beginning of next week,
Beginning of next week. Okay. See, the girls always keep me in the dark. The ladies keep me in the dark about when things are being released. So I just kind of come here and talk, and then that's kind of how it goes.
Yeah. Well,
she goes, yeah, that's okay.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Sounds about right?
I was just trying to give the listeners a little insight here.
No, it's coming up. You'll have it in a couple days.
Days. Yeah. All right, we'll have Debbie coming up in a couple days, and then we get to break down this explosive season finale of The Golden Bachelor. We cannot wait. If you like our podcast, what do you need to do?
Like and follow us, and by all means, give us a rating, please.
Give us a rating. Send us your comments. We love the feedback. We love, most importantly, your participation and your patronage, I guess is a good way to put it. You coming on and spending some time with us. We very much appreciate it, as always. For Jen and Gina, I'm Ryan. We'll see you next time on Play in the Field.